All right, and our waterfall is done. So you can see now I have 6 little flaps that I can fold up, and excuse me, I have glue all over my fingers as usual, where you can add some notes or things like that. So I thought this would be a fun place if I'm doing like a December daily or something like that. I could even just jot a note or two down. You know, I could put label with the day on it or something like that, put little notes about the day throughout here. So this is a fun place to just kind of store information. So I love the way that looks. Now let's open this up and let's go ahead and do some more of the middle. Now for this middle piece here, because this is an envelope here, I think I just want to cover that, because the other thing is my signature will be going against that. So I might be able to do maybe a little tuck spot or something like that here on this side, but I don't want to cover up more of this envelope than, you know, is already here. So to do that, I need to pick something. I'll have to decide here what works for this, because I'm going to cut this down so that it almost matches the side of this flap. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to find my pencil again, which is missing. I don't know about you, but I'm constantly losing that thing. But I think I might use this piece. And then what I'm going to do is just sort of mark how wide I know that it needs to be. And then we'll just glue that down right on here, keeping this nice and open for anything that I might want to tuck in there. All right, I have my back all covered here, and now I want to decorate these sides. So I thought it would be fun on one of the sides to do 2 kind of side pockets. And now I was thinking it'd be fun to have a pocket where you could have a tab or some lace or something with a tag sticking out of that pocket. But because of the way this folds, you know, this side folds in here, so there's not much that would stick out. This side folds over here, and you could have something, whoops, actually that's not the way I want it to fold. I want this one to fold first, this one to fold second, and this to fold over. So because of that, there's no real place for things to stick out except for maybe the top. So instead of doing a side pocket that would stick out over on the outside, which is what I might normally do inside a journal, I think I'm going to do these pockets on the inside so that you can see there's like a 1/2 inch here where I could have a tab or something sticking out there. So I think I'm going to do 2 pockets. The opening will be on this side, the same side as my nice big gusset pocket here. And what I'm going to do that is I'm just going to pick 2 pieces of paper that I like. So now I'm going to do these pockets kind of as, I don't want them to be totally flat pockets. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. Now, because I'm going to be using some cardstock papers, so these digitals are printed double-sided on cardstock, and I want to do 2. I don't think I'm going to cover this first. I don't think I need to do that. If your envelopes, you know, look like they might need a little covering first, go ahead and do that. I know I want to do 2 pockets. But there might be a little bit in the middle that is showing. So I'm just going to add some distress to kind of this middle area so that if those pockets don't butt up against each other, that'll be okay. You'll just kind of see some distress through there. I think that'll be fine. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this one, but we'll do both of them just the same. Obviously, I don't want the pocket to go over the end of this because that's where I'm going to have something sticking out. I'm going to grab my pencil again, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark the length of this piece of paper. So I'm going to try to do that. Since this is pretty decorated, it's kind of hard to see. So I know that I want my pocket to be this wide on this side here. And then what I'm going to do from that measurement, now I'm going to add a 1/2 inch to it. So if I put this down on my paper on that line that I just made, I'm going to add a 1/2 inch because we're going to fold that under to make our pocket. And I'm not deleting, but erasing that first line so I don't get myself confused. But this is where I'm going to cut to get my pocket width and or length, you know, depending on how you measure this. And then when I take my ruler, I know that my total height is almost 9 inches. So I don't think I want to do 4.5 inches because if I do each pocket 4.5 inches, they'll fall off the end here. So I think what I'm going to do is each pocket I want to be about 4.25. So that'll get us almost up to 8.5. And then if I have a little bit of a gap in between them, that's kind of where I put this distress. So that's what I want to do. So I know they're going to be 4.25 inches height this way. And what I'm going to do to that is I'm going to add 1 inch to that because we're going to fold in on each side. So let me just get my paper out because sometimes you have to do that. So I know that I want my pocket to be 4.5 inches, let's say wide, even though it's kind of tall here. And I'm going to add 1 inch to that. So I'm going to cut 5.5 inches by this measurement here, which we already added 1/2 inch to. So first I'm just going to cut the paper down at that first mark so that I know that I have that correct. And then I'm going to pick 5.5 inches over here that I like, and it looks like it almost takes up this whole decoration here. So this will be one of our pockets. And what I'm going to do with that one pocket is from the bottom where we had added 1/2 inch, I am going to score at 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to turn it the other way. So this is going to kind of be the opening of our pocket. And I'm going to score 1/2 inch on one side and 1/2 inch on the other side. So, and I think I didn't want it 4.5 inches wide. I wanted it 4.25 inches wide. So I've already done 4.5, which I said I wasn't going to do. So I should have cut this at 4.25, but let's see what I can do. I don't think that's going to work. Actually, I can probably come in a little bit. So if I wanted this to be, let's see if I can figure this out. So I cut it 1/4 inch too wide. I'm just going to come in, let's see, this as 1/2 inch. I think I'm going to try to score 1/8 inch in from each one of the marks that I made. And hopefully, now if I can find the lines, I'll see if this ends up being 4.25. 1, 2, 3, 4.25. Yep, that worked. How about that? So I know the 1/2 inch at the bottom was okay. And then maybe what I'll do is I will just snip off a little bit of the extra since I went a little too wide there. So these flaps on the sides obviously are going to be tucked in and they're not going to show, so it shouldn't be too bad. So let me do the folds. So just make sure when you measure, if you write it down, you actually write down the amount you want to cut off. That makes sense. Okay, so now that I've folded each of the bottom and the sides in, I'm just going to cut out this little overlapping corner. So I'm just going to cut a little bit on the corner, right into the corner where the folds meet, cut right into where the folds meet, and then just kind of do a little angle out there on the side. So that just keeps the pocket from being too bulky when we fold it over. So now let's see if my little math problem worked out for me. Okay, so it's the full height of this, which is what I wanted. And I think now we should be at 4.25. And we are. So that means that if I do another one just like this, except measuring correctly this time, we should have enough room for a second pocket, 4.25 inch pocket right there. So I love the way this looks and I like that it's red, but I was thinking what I would do is I would use this one as the green for one of the pockets as well, just to get some different color on there. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing I did before, but because I don't want to necessarily cut into her, I'm going to measure it from the middle of the page. So I think I'm going to line this up. This is where I want the bottom to be. Now this is where I want the top to be. So the top, we're going to cut right on that line. This one, like we said before, we're going to add 1/2 inch to. So if I start there, I'm going to add 1/2 inch over here. And first, let's cut that out. See if I can find my 1/2 inch line that I made. And then I know I want it to be right here to to the top of that. All right, so I didn't mess that up. I can use that maybe for something else. And then now, instead of cutting it 5.5 inches wide, I'm going to cut it 5.25 inches wide so that I know we will have enough room. So let's try this again. So now that I cut this at 4.25, I'm still going to go in 1/2 inch on one side, and this is only 1/4, so I'm going to go 1, 2, and go in to 1/2 inch on the other side as well. And on our bottom, I'm going to score that 1/2 inch. So once again, I'm just folding them all down. I'm going to cut out my corners here, come in at an angle to where our folds meet, and then go out at an angle. Come in at an angle to where the folds meet, and then go out an angle. All right, let's see how we did for this one. Now I can, I have to decide, you know, which one I'm gonna put where, but that turned out good because we've got it right on the edge, which is where I want it. And this one is as well. So you can see I will have a little bit of gap in between them, but that's why I kind of did a little bit of distress there. So that'll be nice and taken care of. And I think it might be fun to add some notches into these so that you can see where, you know, the tabs are to put things in. So I'm going to try to find the middle. A lot of people are good at estimating the middle, but because I did these 4.25, it's not going to be exactly easy to find it. So I'm going to make a little mark on these. And actually, since I did one, if I line them up with where that one is, I could probably do these at the same time. That doesn't look centered, does it? Okay, let me just double check this here. So if I start at the 10, yeah. Okay, maybe it just doesn't look centered, whoops, because of the way my papers are. I don't know, because it's showing that it is, but let's just go ahead and give it a try. Yep, I think that looks centered. I think it must have just been the way the patterns on the other side were fooling me. Okay, so now that these are ready, I'm going to add some distress. I'm going to figure out which one I want where. I might do it this way since, well, there's some red down here, so maybe I will do it this way to kind of keep those broken up. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue down on all my folds, and that's how I'm going to glue it down. So let me get some distress on there and we'll get them glued down, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, let's work on this side. Now, if you notice, I kind of did the same thing that I did over here because I was thinking it would be fun to just put a couple of fold outs over here. So instead of full envelopes, I wanted it to kind of look like an envelope, but it would just be kind of a fold out where you could add a picture or some journaling or something like that. So I made myself a template. You can make one too. Once again, I made this 4.25 inches wide this way so that two of them could fit together. And then what I did was I just kind of marked the ends. So the base of it, or the part that is secured to the back, is the width of it. Then the one side folding in is just about 1/8 of an inch shorter of where it would be the edge here. And then this piece, I just took an old envelope that I had, or any envelope that I had, and I just mirrored what the curvature was based on the center line of this piece of paper here. So this envelope is a little bit bigger here, but when I went ahead and put these together, I just kind of lined up the centers of them and then drew lines so that I would have a nice little envelope fold there. And then this is what I'm going to use to cut papers out. All right, I have my templates cut, and I did decide to go with the lighter printed paper. So I just think that adding too much more bulk here, I'm going to end up, you know, it's going to be harder to stay closed and all that good stuff. So I used my templates. I cut out one side is nice and decorated. The other side is plain. This one was actually not printed on. I just added some distress. So lots of options here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue down this back side. Now you could create a second pocket here if you wanted to by just gluing down 3 sides. You know, if you want to get crazy, you could do the same thing over here, or maybe even go like this. So you have another, you know, sort of place where you can stick things out if you'd like to. I'm just going to glue the whole thing down. And I think I'm going to leave the flap on this side so that it'll be a little bit easier to write on over here. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just, since these are 4 1/4 inches wide, I'm going to have that same little gap in between. I'm going to, you know, I put my distress in the middle so that that wouldn't, you know, be something that sticks out. And of course, I'm just kind of eyeballing where exactly I want it to go. And I am going to put the flaps the same way on both of these. And I'm kind of loving how it's coming together. I think this would be a great place to really do some documenting of the holidays and things like that. Let's make sure this is on the edge here. Now these are just fold overs, so I could add, you know, a little circle or something to hold them down, which I might do. But right now I just want to get them glued down so that they are in place and we know what else we need to cover up here. Okay, let's do the cover. And now I thought it would be fun to use this image. I have cut off and used some of the paper from some other places, but when I place it on the front here with this flap, she shows enough that, and the Christmas greeting shows that I think that'll be a fun thing to do. And I was just thinking about, you know, just doing the cover just like that, but I thought it would be more fun if we made a little hidden pocket, or a little, I don't know what you would call it, like a cohesive pocket or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you what I mean. So you need 2 of the same printed papers, and these are printed on cardstock. So what I'm going to do, grab my pencil, and for the one that I already have cut down, I'm going to measure the size that I need. So I'm just keeping it between the top and bottom, like I have kind of been doing. And I have a teeny tiny margin over here. I'll do a little bit of a margin over here as well. So this is how wide I know the cover needs to be. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut these both together so that they are exactly the same size. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want my little pocket to look like it's not even there. So now I have these 2 pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on the top one. So this one will just keep there for a minute. The top one, I'm going to mark kind of where I would want a pocket to be. And so, you know, this is just a personal preference thing. If you want a larger pocket, you know, you can do 4 inches or something like that. I think I'm going to keep this one kind of small so I don't cut through the greetings. So I think I'm just going to measure that pocket to be right about there. So for this piece, I'm going to cut right at this mark. And I won't need this one because I only need one of those. But you can see now we're creating kind of a hidden pocket here, just like that. So I'm going to put them down like this, and then with my distress and whatever, you might be able to see where the pocket is. But I may even put a little notch in this one, and maybe I'll do a small notch this time instead of the large one that we did before, just to have something a little bit less obtrusive. So let me see what I got here. I'm screwing it up again, probably. 1, 2, 3, 1.5. I don't know. It's under pressure, folks. So make sure you measure better than me if this doesn't work. Okay, so if I go back to here now, I have this little notch, but when you look at it, you can barely see that it's there. Now, I do like to add a little bit of distress just because, you know, I don't know, cut edges bother me. I have to always seem to have my edges cut. And doing this, actually putting the distress on will make it a little bit more obvious, but not enough that, you know, you'll really be able to tell. But it'll be a fun place to add a tag or something like that, and then you'll have this cute little postcard poking out from underneath if you remove the tag there. So I just thought this would be a fun idea. And now normally I might, you know, sew this or something, but I'm trying to keep it relatively simple. And now to put the pocket on, I'm just going to glue, I'm going to put my finger where the notch is, and I'm just going to put a line of glue on the other 3 edges that I'm not holding. And so that'll keep, and then of course I want to make sure I put this on right at the bottom and line it up perfectly. Like that. And then for this, I'm going to just glue the whole thing down. All right, now we got these ready to go. I want to deal with this flap. So I haven't covered it yet. I am going to cover it, but before I do cover it, I want to put some eyelets in because I want to use twine on this flap. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to mark with my pencil where I want my 2 eyelets to go. And I guess I could do 1 here, but I think I'm going to do 2 just because I think it would be fun. All right, so I think this, like we said, is almost 9 inches. Yes, so if I go 1, 2, 3, 4.5, this is the middle. So I think I am going to kind of keep these close to the middle here. I don't want them to be right on the edges. So I'm going to come in maybe 1/4 of an inch on each side, and I just eyeballed some dots there. And I'm going to be using my my big crocodile here because my small one won't go in far enough to get that one. So that's why I'm using this one. So let me, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'll link you to a video to show you how to set an eyelet if you're not sure how to do that. But I'm just going to run through and do it real quick here. Okay, got my eyelets all set. I like that the gold matches what we got going on here. And I went and grabbed some little, I don't know, baling twine or jute here to do my flap with. So I want to put this on first because then my plan is to cover this up. So what I'm going to need to do is probably cut a bunch of this just to make sure I have enough to go around a couple times maybe. Let me just do this about like that. And of course we can always cut this down if we need to. So okay. All right, I have my 2 here. And actually, I think I want my outside one to be a little bit longer. And this one I'm just going to leave there for just a minute while I kind of get this wrapped around. And then I was thinking I would just create a little bow here for the closure. So I do have a lot of extra here. So I'm going to cut off. I'm going to keep it like this until I'm done. I may cut up, you know, end up cutting off more. But I kind of like that. You know, you just have to wrap one around. You got lots of nice little things here. And it creates a nice little closure for us there. So I like that. So the reason I wanted to do that before I covered anything, I'm just gonna undo it, but try to keep everything where I had it without pulling it through the holes anymore, because I think this is how I'm gonna do it. So one side is very long, the other side is very short. And then here is where I'm going to just kind of glue this down. And now we're gonna cover it so that this is held secure. So once again, I'm going back to my digitals here, see what we've got for fun to cover this. Let's see, I need to open this up a little so I can see what I'm doing. And obviously I'd be cutting this off. Actually, that might be fun. Let's see, I think I might do that. So I think I'm going to use this little picture here. See if I have any other ones that are thrilling me any more than that. And this, once again, is not the cardstock, but just the presentation paper that's printed on. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I like that. Let's go for it. So I know that I need to cut down at least to, I don't want to cut off a Merry Christmas. So I think I'm going to start it here and then I'll mark it. So I'm going to cut at that edge first. And that'll be right on the edge of my flap there. And now I'll mark it so I know exactly where to cut at. So if I line this edge up with the edge here, I can find my lost pencil. I don't know where it is. It's probably under all the papers. Yep, there it is, of course. Okay, and then I'll mark it right here where I want it to go, just about to the fold. Not quite, so that it doesn't hinder the fold at all. Okay. And once again, I know this isn't quite tall enough, but I will add some distress at the top and the bottom before I glue this down. And I think this will be a fun little flap, just like that. And I will take my pencil and just remove my pencil mark there, but I am going to add some distress around there before I put this down. And I'm just going to try and make sure that, I know there's going to be a bump there, but that's okay. I'm just going to try to make sure I have it as flat as possible before I put this down. And I'm going to make sure there's lots of glue right around here so that it holds down securely. All right, let's get this going. All right, this is all glued down. And since this flap is basically done, the last thing I wanted to do was round these corners. So I'm just going to choose one corner round that I like. I think I'm going to use kind of the deep round here. And then, of course, I'm just going to finish them off with a little bit of distress ink since I made a cut. All right, so now we have our tie all ready to go. And the next thing I'm going to do, which is almost the last thing, is I'm going to bind in my signatures. So my one signature, I'm not doing any more than one signature. And I'm going to use a 5-hole pamphlet stitch here. And I'm going to link to it because I do this in so many of my videos. I don't think you need to see me do it here again. If you're not sure how to do it, please visit the video that I'll put up here or look in the description so that you can see how I'm going to do that. I'm just going to bind it right into this seam right here, and then we'll be back to finish it off. All right, I have my signature all sewn in. And you're right, I forgot something, the back. So we need to cover the back. And once again, you could decide to do some pockets or stuff in here. You could kind of do the same sort of pocket that we did here if you would want to. But I think what I'm going to do is I want to add like a little bit of lace or maybe a little bit of fabric or something to just cover up my spine threads here. So because I'm going to do that, I don't want to, you know, necessarily mess up a pocket or something on the back, but obviously we need to cover this. So I wanted to use this picture of these cute girls here. And because my fabric or whatever is going to go on this side, I'm going to keep them sort of to the edge over here. Now I will have to cut it a little bit because I don't want it to get cut off down here, but it'll be okay if it gets cut off just a little bit. And maybe let's go ahead and do it. So I'm just gonna cut, I'm gonna try and leave just a little bit over here, because if the fabric covers you know, the frame of the picture or something, that should be okay. Yeah, and then at least I can keep most of the photo on the back itself. So, and you could, because we covered this portion here, you could actually cut this a little bit smaller if you wanted to have some of that show if you'd like. And actually, maybe that's what I'll do. And you could even, you know, put some more fabric over here just to kind of match things up if you wanted to. Sometimes I like asymmetrical better than symmetrical. But yeah, I definitely didn't want to cut them apart if I, you know, or cut parts of them off, I should say, if I didn't have to help it. So yes, I think I really like that as my back cover. Simple, but that's okay. And then I'm going to add some distress and glue this down too. All right, it's all finished. I ended up putting just a little strip of fabric about 1 inch wide over the spine on this side to cover up my sewing out here, and I have it all completed. So let me just kind of do a final flip through because I did some decorating. So I just wanted to give you some ideas of what you could do. I did decide to go back to the kit and to the ephemera pages and use those for the decorating that I did. So when you open up this side, you can see our 2 little pockets have these cute little tags in them, and I love that they just have a little tab that sticks out of the top here. So the tags I just made from cutting pieces of the pages out so that they would, you know, fit inside of there. I added some labels to these pockets. I have a tag in here, but obviously way more could fit in that pocket there. I didn't decorate any of these yet. I was thinking about putting a label up here, but I didn't decide what I wanted to do because I thought if I go back in with my Christmas numbers from for Advent, let me see if I can find any of those. I think these are all, these might all be, oh no, here are the numbers. So if I go in, you know, and this is day 2 or something like that, I can end up using one of these labels for these. And I think they would look cute, you know, on any of them. So I didn't do anything with that for right now. And then when you open this up, I did decide to use some of the 2-inch circle spots that I have to close off my little fold outs here. And I like how that this kind of keeps them together. So I did cut them off on the bottom a little bit so that they weren't so high on these small little fold outs here. Our signature is all sewn in. And then on this side, I have another tag from the kit that I added a label to and just put some ribbon on the top. And then there is also another tag. The 3rd tag is over here with some of the same fabric that I used for the spine over there. So this is our fun little folio that I'm going to fold back up here. And I hope that you give this a try. I think this will be perfect for me to do some of my December documenting. So thanks so much for watching, friends. I hope that you get into some Christmas crafts. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.